I'm not opposed to mass transit at all. What the issue is how it's going about being marketed to us. My problem is that, what we have is a colorful map, but we don't have a real plan. All right, first let's look at who is proposing this. These are the same people that gave us the red line. The red line was built on infrastructure that was already there, a rail that was already there. It went 233% over budget, and the promised federal dollars that were supposed to come with it never did. So Austin ended up paying for that all by itself.
You mean Austin got no federal help in the red line? None,
and the ridership that they said would come has never materialized. So it hasn't actually kept up itself. We're having to continue to subsidize it.
Why do you think the ridership suffered under the red line, never materialized?
Well, first, even though we moved bus routes and stuff to try to get over there and connect it to the city, it wasn't what the city needed. And I think they went forward with an idea without looking at the underlying, what do Austinites need? And one of the things that they need to do before doing that is figure out what are the environmental impacts before we start digging in Austin.
You mean they haven't done a thorough environmental study and the necessary studies for a very extensive rail system and transportation plan?
Yeah, what we basically have right now is a marketing program for a colorful map, as you pointed out earlier. So we don't have a plan about how it's going to affect our environment. We don't have a plan about how we're going to drill underneath the shale and bedrock that is Austin. And so we're going into it with literally a colorful map without the underlying routes that show what exactly it's going to look like. And I think that speaks to the ultimate cost, because we all know that when you start drilling into places that you haven't looked very well, you tend to hit things and come across rocks that you didn't know, formations or empty caverns, etc., that add a lot more to that budget. It's going to go over budget. This Project Connect, which is more of a con, it's Project Con, and what they're trying to do is basically give us a pretty map with lots of colors, rely on Austin's desire to see affordable, usable mass transit for Austinites, and then just give money away to the same developers that have been screwing Austinites over for a while now.
Well, something's got to be based on ridership studies, I would think, that there would be some level of public demand for an extensive rail public transportation.
You would think that, but the ridership studies that I've seen seem to suggest that this marketing plan, Project Con, that they're putting forward is really going to hit maybe 1% of the mobility needs for Central Austin. And so we're talking about potentially $11 billion or more, because the federal dollars that they're saying are going to come with it are not guaranteed, and if they're not doing environmental or engineering plans, then there's no guarantee of that. And so we're looking at a very large amount of money that's going to be put on the people of Austin for a very small amount of ridership. I'm not opposed to mass transit at all. What I'm opposed to is going forward with this plan without looking into how much it's actually going to cost Austinites and what it's actually going to do for them. And so far, I think the people involved with this are just pushing forward to try to get money into the hands of the same developers that screwed us over with the red line. Dave, we don't know, because we don't know what the true cost of it is going to be. But I'll tell you, neither homeowners nor renters in Austin want to see property taxes go up 25%. And it's certainly not going to be welcomed when that goes up to pay for something that turns into a boondoggle. And we don't have a clear plan about what the end goal is when we're looking at this Project Con.
What about people who rent? Because Austin has a huge rental community.
Well, if property taxes go up by 25%, renters' fees could go up by 25% as well. And what we're getting right here is Project Con is giving us way too little for way too much.
paying for the metro, capital metro expansion is estimated, and they're planning on seeking a 25% increase in property taxes. In other words, every homeowner's taxes, annual property taxes on their home, would go up 25%. Renters wind up paying that too through their landlords and so forth, so everybody winds up paying. That's a pretty significant increase. Is that going to get us an amazing system? What do we know about that?
Well, no, I don't think it is, because we don't have the proper engineering plans and environmental impact studies to show us what the true end goal cost of that is going to be. But do we want taxes and property taxes in Austin going up 25%? Because that's not just going to affect the homeowners that pay the property taxes and that pay the mortgages. It's also going to be affecting the renters that pay those property taxes and mortgages through rent. Their rent's going to go up. And so we're going to be facing a housing crisis, potentially due to this boondoggle. It's a giveaway to the same people that promised us that the Red Line would bring wonderful ridership across central Texas. And it's a giveaway to people that seem to think that they can raise taxes on Austinites to fill their coffers. Well, this Project Con has a great marketing scheme with a colorful map with different lines and stuff, but the research seems to show that it's only going to solve about 1% of our mobility needs that we have in Central Texas, and that's just not worth it. Well, I think you can see in other places that have rail that their ridership doesn't always rise to what the expected ridership is. But you don't have to look outside to, New York or Dallas or whatever. You can look in Austin, right here, where we have the Red Line, and their claimed ridership, we're hitting 2 to 3% of that. So it's very, very low.